Council this Monday, November 9th, 2015. Could you please all rise and say the pledge with me? I pledge allegiance All right, can we get a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Ms. Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Canova? Mr. Gingona?
Here.
Mr. Torres?
Present.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Present. All right, let me just make the general announcement. For those of you wishing to address the City Council on any item on the agenda or under public appearances, oral communications, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance to the council chambers and submit to a staff member as early as possible during the meeting. I already have several speaker cards, and there seem to be mostly on the water rate issue, but you're welcome to speak on any other item. Just make sure you fill out a speaker card. All right, next up is our presentations. We have a presentation on the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, the Vision Zero Policy Initiative. Let me call up Emma Schlaze, who's the policy manager. Good evening.
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Emma Schlaze. I'm the policy manager for Silicon Valley Bike Coalition, and my colleague from the health system, Jasneet Sharma, will be actually presenting first briefly.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. I'm going to speak a little softly today, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Still recovering from a bad throat thanks to my kids, so trying to hang in there.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come out here and present some of the work that we've done under our program with the San Mateo County Health System to create safe walking and biking conditions in San Mateo County. Just to introduce myself again, I'm Jasneet Sharma. I'm a senior community health planner with the San Mateo County Health System. I think I have a few more colleagues joining us, but essentially I represent the health system today, and I'm going to be co-presenting with Emma on the issue of Vision Zero. Do I have controls, or should I just say next? Oh, this one right here, I see.
You're next. It's voice activated. Just
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? That would be great. Just quickly before we get into some of this work, I wanted to share a little bit about the collaborative that we represent at the San Mateo County Health System, which is Get Healthy San Mateo County. This was established in about 2004. It's a local collaborative of community-based organizations, county agencies, cities, hospitals, schools, and what we're really trying to do is we're using policy change to prevent disease and create an environment where everyone has equitable opportunities to live long and healthy lives. We recently released our strategic plan, and that's the document you would be seeing that I sent around. That colorful looking document says building healthy, equitable communities. Absolutely, thank you so much. We have 4 key priority areas that we've identified recently that we'll be working on through 2020, which is housing, neighborhood, schools, and economy. And I just briefly want to kind of tie the connection to all of these to health and why we're working on these priorities. Housing is like a key component in a healthy community, and having access to stable and affordable housing is really important for you to be able to pursue healthy opportunities. Complete neighborhoods make it easy for people to walk in their everyday lives, walk and bike to places, get access to goods and resources that they need, or even help them connect to their jobs and housing as well. Healthy schools is essentially where you have a high quality education system that creates pathways to better health for youth and for students as well. And then a strong local economy essentially offers people the opportunity to build financial security, which then impacts their health as well. Okay, that's how I do it. Now I got it. All So as the reason for us being here today is that one of the key pieces of the work that we do is to try and create these healthy neighborhoods. And a key component of healthy neighborhoods is to give people the ability to safely walk and bike to places. Now, why is that important from a health perspective is when you can walk and bike on an everyday basis without really having to think about it, you're building in the physical activity into your everyday life, right? You're not having to think about, do I need to go to the gym? Do I need to set aside 1 hour to go to the gym today? You're something that you can just do without any extra effort. So that's what Complete Neighborhoods really about, is creating that safe environment for people. When you increase physical activity, you're directly impacting other health outcomes like obesity and diabetes, heart diseases, and other obesity-related epidemics as well. In addition, when people drive less, so meaning when people are biking or walking more, you have decline in air pollution, you see a decline in asthma and other health-related issues, and at the same time, you're also reversing some of the negative impacts of climate change as well. So that's one of our goals through our Healthy Neighborhoods piece, is to create these environments where people can safely walk and bike. Well, how are we trying to do some of that? One way that we try and do that through the work that we do at the health system is looking at or examining data to see where exactly are the places in San Mateo County where those safe environments are lacking, or where safety is an issue. So what you're seeing this map here, this was analysis that our team and our epidemiologist conducted using statewide traffic collision records. And what it's essentially showing you is the darker the color, the higher the concentration of bike and pedestrian collisions in that area. So you can see, if you see all the way from Daly City down to East Palo Alto, it's kind of all of it is along the El Camino corridor, but where you're seeing these hot spots, as we call them, really popping out, you'll see them in North Fair Oaks and Redwood City. Then you see them along the border of Burlingame and San Mateo, and the other piece is up in Daly City. I just wanted to share a couple of numbers that in San Mateo County, between 2009 and 2013, there were about 2,362 pedestrian and bike fatalities and injuries. So in that 5-year period, we had about 2,300 injuries and fatalities. Just wanted to zoom in and show you a little bit of what's happening in Daly City, because that's kind of the reason we are here today. What you're seeing is the little red, the circles that have the dark blue color in them. That's essentially showing you places where primary pedestrian collisions happened, but these were places where pedestrians actually had right of way. And yet the collisions happen there. And these make up about 50% of the pedestrian collisions in Daly City. So again, places where pedestrians had the right of way, where those collisions happened. And as you're going lighter, the next light blue color beyond that is places where collisions were due to some pedestrian violations. And then you have the other lighter colors, which includes a couple of other factors, one of them being unsafe starting or backing up of the car. So there are a couple of other factors, which is about 6% in there. I also gave you a handout which has a similar map, and you will probably be seeing red flags on that map. What those red flags are showing you on that map is essentially the location of schools in Daly City. And I want to kind of tie that into the graph that you're seeing here is overall in San Mateo County, bike and ped collisions happen, about 39% of bike and ped collisions happened within 1/4 mile of a school. In Daly City, that's 62%. And that's why we gave you that map, which is showing you where the red flag is. And you can see there's a little concentration of those bike and ped collisions closer to schools as well. So again, what can Daly City do about this? I know this is a priority for you all, so clearly you all are showing leadership in that direction as well. And one, of course, is to adopt a Vision Zero policy, and that's the piece Emma will be talking to you about. I have listed a couple of other options for you all to think about as well as you're moving forward in some of your other city planning processes. I know you're probably looking at the Daly City and the Colma BART station area plan. So you have some of these coming up in the pipeline these might be other strategies or policies you might want to keep in mind, and we'd be happy to provide you more information on these as you need them. And then lastly, before I hand it over to Emma, I just want to close up by reiterating that, we are more than happy to help you or provide support to you in any way that we can. Some of the ways that we do this is we've got the collision data and analysis. That's something we do through our program. If you want any research or emerging best practices, we'd be more than happy to share that with you. We've also recently developed what's called the Safety and Active Transportation Policy Assessment. This was a toolkit we developed over summer, and what we essentially do with that is we work with a city to actually analyze their existing policies to see to what extent is your existing environment promoting safe and active transportation. And then through that tool, we actually identify gaps, and we can work with you and provide you some recommendations on how you can strengthen those existing policies to create that better environment. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Emma, and she's going to kind of guide you through some of what a Vision Zero policy looks like. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really sensitive.
Is it
Yeah.
up, down? Okay. Good evening again. Thank you for having us. Again, I'm the policy manager at Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition. Our mission is to create a healthy community, environment, and economy through bicycling for people who live, work, or play in San Mateo and Santa Clara counties. We have over almost 3,000 members in the two counties, and we have a central goal to see 10% of trips by bike by 2025. Okay, oops, skipped one. So what is Vision Zero? Vision Zero basically is the goal to have zero traffic-related deaths or severe injuries. This also requires a paradigm shift in how we view traffic collisions. We must affirm the fact that every roadway death and life-altering injury is preventable. So this concept started in 1997 in Sweden and other European countries. And since implementing not only this goal, but a suite of policy and programmatic options, they've reduced traffic fatalities by almost 50%. SVBC started working on this in 2011, and last year in 2014, San Francisco and New York City adopted Vision Zero plans and strategies. And then earlier this year, San Jose adopted a goal with an implementation plan, and the city of San Mateo adopted a goal in their Sustainable Streets Plan. So we've collaborated with California Walks on a Vision Zero toolkit, which I will hand out to you shortly. It's this booklet, and it's to be used by cities in the two counties towards safer streets. We wrote this toolkit with best practices gleaned from around the country and the world, and it lays out suggested policies and programs. What does it include? So it's organized using the 5 E's. This is a common framework used in street safety to categorize the types of projects and improvements that will lead to systematic change. These are evaluation and planning, engineering, enforcement, education, and encouragement. We've also added 2 more E's, engagement and equity, to empower the people that most need these improvements. And we've also arranged the toolkit with short, mid, and long-term tactics. So it goes from about 0 to 1 year up to 5+ years. And this also, expense goes up as well with more investment. Sorry, I'll get the hang of this in a second. Just a quote from the U.S. Department of Transportation report on safer people and safer streets. They say, residents of low-income and minority neighborhoods are disproportionately represented in bike and pedestrian injuries and fatalities, and low-income neighborhoods often have fewer sidewalks and other safe infrastructure. Safe non-motorized travel and safe access to transit stops is essential for disadvantaged Americans seeking to reach jobs, schools, and other opportunities. So this is why we've included equity engagement, because we really feel like it's important. And low-income populations frequently rely on walking, biking, and transit to meet their daily needs. So we really encourage focusing on that. Engineering is one of the most impactful strategies your city can pursue. you don't always need a lot of money to make very effective improvements. Sometimes paint, signs, signal timings make a big difference, and it also starts to get the momentum going and gets people interested. And you can also start these smaller projects while you're in the middle of designing longer-term projects, and it kind of inspires people and gets to see what works. So what are the next steps? These are a few things that your council can do towards the goal of 0 traffic deaths and severe injuries. Of course, we recommend adopting a Vision Zero policy. I know you're looking at updating the bike and pedestrian plan for your city. This would be a really important goal to include. Also, including goals for the amount of people biking and walking. It's also, the bike ped plan update is also a good opportunity to engage the community members and find out what works for them, what would make them more interested in biking and walking for transportation. And then, you know, a lot of the details are in this toolkit, and it'll help you figure out what are the best next steps for your city and how to implement some of these goals. And of course, we're here to help. I focus on San Mateo County. We work from Daly City all the way to San Jose, and we can help you guys with a number of things, including outreach, reviewing designs, which we've done in the past for your city, grant applications. Just let us know. So that we'll take any questions. Oops.
All right. Any questions, comments?
Yes, I'd like to comment. You know, I met Emma about a year and a half ago, along with Jasneet and some other people. I actually attended a Vision Zero. Emma, refresh my memory. It was in San Jose. It was your big rollout for Vision Zero, right?
It was in Palo Alto in August.
Okay, and we went over there, and I was shocked and amazed that this was such a prevalent issue. I did not know that it was so unsafe here. And being a bicycle advocate, a person who rides on my bike almost every day, I would suggest to our group that we adopt the Vision Zero policy, and if it needs further discussion, I would love to be able to serve on a subcommittee. Daly City has also done a lot of things in the way of being proactive in this regard. I spoke to Julie earlier. Julie, you had said something about the fact that Daly City Police had gotten a grant. Could you elaborate on that, please?
Yes, in fact, this year our police department was awarded a grant, roughly about $75,000 to do much more pedestrian outreach and awareness, communicating with a lot of seniors who are out there walking our streets, a lot of transit riders, helping to educate them. So that is something we're hoping will continue to receive grant funding from the state for that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities. So, in fact, if you can help us with grants, that would be a really valuable resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And, you know, the other issue, I wanted to bring up was the fact that, you see a collaboration between a nonprofit organization and the Department of Public Health coming to a city and saying, we want to help. I really don't think we should turn down that kind of help. And clearly they've made a case for the need. I don't think that anybody here would say that safe streets is something that they would be against. So what I would like to do is I'd like to move forward on this Vision Zero. Yep. This fits along with our health and wellness policy that we passed many years ago, 2012. It fits with what this council has done with smoking. It fits with what we've done with payday lending, and it just fits. We're looking to protect our citizens, and it makes sense to do this. So I would urge my colleagues to unless there's questions and trepidation about going forward, I'd like to go forward and perhaps work with them in a subcommittee or with staff to develop a way that we can adopt Vision Zero policies. We would be the first in San Mateo County to do this. And just like we've been on the cutting edge of health issues, I'd like to be known for that. And I think I'd like my colleagues to either discuss it now or put me on a subcommittee and go forward with it.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to be on the subcommittee with Mr. Gingona. As many of you know, I serve as the representative of I'm the vice chair of the Transportation Authority. I think I saw you last week, Emma.
Yeah.
We're talking about some east-west connections relative to to bike lanes throughout San Mateo County. So I'd be very much interested in serving with Mr. Gingona.
That's interesting to note, and I'd like to comment on that. The Transportation Authority had an opportunity to actually spend money on bikes and pedestrian stuff in San Mateo, in northern San Mateo County, if I'm not mistaken. Was that correct? We had some issues on the Transportation Authority, and I wondered how did that work out?
No,
Did we-
no, just so you know, that's incorrect. There was nothing relative to North San Mateo County. What it was there was an issue around two places. One, well, no, it was one. It was the Holly Street crossing. And so we had taken up that issue about 3 weeks ago. We took up that issue on Thursday. Myself and Mr. Horsley, Mr. Gingona, we were on the losing end of a vote to see what we can do to work with this group for, and she's nodding her head here. I see you, to create connectivity, so between east-west connection. So I thank you for your question. I'm glad I can clarify it for you.
And that's why I was wondering that.
Can I ask you a question?
because of it.
I know we were in a presentation, so I'm wondering, the city attorney, Mr.
That's a
Gingona's
good-
proposed a subcommittee. Is it appropriate to do it now, or do we have to do it later on in the meeting to do it? Or can we do it now? Okay.
Yeah. I
All right,
mean, I
so
think that's what we should
Can
do.
I call the question? Because
Yeah,
I'd
go
like
ahead.
to vote on it,
Yeah.
if we can, yeah.
Well, let me ask a couple of questions, although, I mean, I think we should do it, but
Yeah.
I was just curious on some of the material that was presented. So I looked at your map, and a lot of the blue dots, you said that they were near schools. Are the accidents involving mostly then school kids?
And I'm going to actually bring in one of my colleagues here as well, Jessica Osborne, so she leads some of the data analysis work.
Yeah.
But
Hi, I'm Jessica Osborne. I work with JESNEAT. Let me just clarify that some of that data is, we don't have that level of detail yet.
Okay.
We're working with our epidemiologist, Karina Chung, to dive down a little bit, and also with the County Office of Education and their Safe Routes to School coordinator to figure out what's happening exactly with those collisions. Unfortunately, we don't get a whole lot of information when they report it into SWITRs, which is where we get all of our traffic
I see.
and collision data.
Uh-huh.
So it's not necessarily conclusive, but what concerns us is just knowing that those accidents are happening in such close proximity to schools, whether it involves a student or not. It makes it more difficult for parents to feel comfortable about letting their kids walk and bike to school if they know that the environment's somewhat hostile.
I see, okay. And then, have you ever recommended or ever explored the idea, because I've heard different theories on how you can revise a traffic signal. I've heard, there was one that I most recently heard about where they had, instead of just having a red, yellow, green, it would be red, yellow with a green, and then yellow with a red, and then red. That kind of, have you ever studied that and examined whether or not that's a option that does
Not
work?
specifically, but what I can tell you is that there are so many amazing things happening in terms of traffic technology and roadway safety, and a lot of things that have been endorsed, even by Caltrans now, to see how we can make it safer for pedestrians, cyclists, and even motorists, just making it easier and more consistent. And we would love and be happy to explore some of those things with you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
I have one more.
Go ahead.
Thank you for the presentation, it was great. Who put this together? Is that your group to
Oh,
put this
yes,
together?
absolutely. This is, so I wanted to introduce our senior manager for the Health Policy and Planning Program. So she kind of led the effort. And
Who's
yes, Shireen Malafazali.
Hi, Sri. I was
so-
just curious, because there's a lot of statistics in here, and it was really well footnoted, but there's a lot of statistics that affect the Latino community, which is of course interest to me. But I'm curious, how does somebody, because there's a lot of things in here that mention the Latino community and the dire situation that a lot of the minorities and people of color find themselves in. But, and although you put some generalization on objectives and proposed actions, there's really not much else. For example, you talk about the life expectancy of Latinos being 68 versus somebody in Atherton being 80, or the fact that Latinos are making $69,000 a year on average versus someone in Atherton who's making well over six figures. But there's not much else information. Do I have to go to the footnoted research, or does the county actually put on some sort of program or opportunity for people to find out more about why these things are like? Because the solutions that are proposed here aren't really connective. In other words, just if you have saying you have a better education or access to education doesn't really solve the problem about poverty in Latino communities. Just saying it doesn't say anything without saying what work is being done by the county to help the less fortunate school districts. Our school district, for example, in this one, it says Jefferson High School District, has a reading proficiency of about 20%, but the poverty level is almost twice that much. But it doesn't really say anything else about what the county is doing to help our school districts. So how would I find out information about that?
Well, we certainly would be happy to do a presentation for you that goes more in depth into the priorities in there, the statistics that are there, as well as the actions that we ourselves as the health system are taking, but also in partnership with key other offices like the County Office of Education, the Office of Sustainability, and others that are contributing to some of the efforts underway. But certainly I will say that we absolutely cannot do it on our own, which is why organizations like Silicon Valley Community Foundation, Daly City Partnership, and others who are really tackling pieces and parts of this big, broad vision are going to be really key to advancing the objectives.
So is it accurate to say that the county does not put on proactively its own seminars and educational opportunities for people to learn more about this, that it has to be requested?
No, we absolutely did. We held a forum, in fact, it was about 2 weeks ago,
Okay.
on this, and we hosted I think there was about 50 or 70 people.
Okay.
50
And
people.
does it only in Redwood City, or do you go around the county doing this?
We actually held that session in the city of San Mateo, but we would be happy to go anywhere anyone requests of us, absolutely, proactively. And in fact,
Okay.
to identify those strategies, the 4 priorities that are there, we in fact held 5 workshops across the county, of which some of your colleagues participated in as
Okay.
well.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd be
Appreciate it.
happy to provide you with any more information and
That'd be
are
great, yeah.
appreciative that
Maybe you guys
you're
can leave your
interested.
contact information, we can get a hold of you guys.
More than happy to. Thank you
Thank
for your
you.
interest.
Thank you very much.
Thank
It
you
was
so
a
much.
really wonderful presentation, a lot of information. So at this time, if there's no objection, I'll go ahead and appoint Mr. Gingona and Mr. Canepa to our newly created subcommittee
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
on this issue.
That's great.
All right, so let me go on to
Thank
the
you.
approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
objection? Hearing none, those minutes are approved. Let me go on to approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Objection, hearing none, the agenda items are approved. Let me go on to the consent agenda, and let me pull by request items number 1 and 2. So for now, let me get a motion with respect to all the remaining items on the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve
So
those?
moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Objection, hearing none, those items are approved. Going back to number 1, which is commending Teresa Ricci on the occasion of her retirement.
And
Ms. Sapona, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you, Mayor Buenaventura. Tonight, I'd like to, right out here in the open, thank Miss Ritchie over there, who sits on my left, for all her years of service here. I know she doesn't care too much for the limelight, so I'll keep it brief. We all owe her a debt of gratitude for her 35 years of service to the residents here of Daly City, as well as the employees who came for her advice or knowledge over the last 35 years or so, and especially for the 7 years that I have been able to work with her. I thank you, Teresa. I'd also like to say that I will miss your institutional knowledge, but maybe more so the history you have of Daly City, since you grew up on the side that I now live, and I grew up on the other side at the same time, pretty much. So thank you, and happy retirement.
Any other comments?
Sure. I just want to thank you, Teresa, for all you've done. You've been, since I've been on the council, sort of the rock, stability. Whenever I had a question, whether it was FPPC, passport, you're a total professional. Minutes were incredible, but Teresa, really thank you for your service. You exemplify what a city employee should be. Go about and do your job in the most professional manner. Thank you, Teresa, for everything.
I'll just wrap it up with, having recently retired myself, Teresa, you know I've talked. Make sure that, I want her to make sure that she has all the fun that she can possibly have during her retirement, and you go, girl.
Ray?
Yes, go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Gingona.
Have fun.
Yeah.
And thank you.
exactly.
Go ahead.
If I may, yeah, Teresa, it's really been a joy. I've been on this council for almost 20 years, and it's going to be hard not to see you on my immediate left every council. And I think what's wonderful about being the mainstay of somebody that here is simply the dedication. For those of you in the audience who don't know, she's been here for 35 years. And that is a very long time to have the dedication and the effort. Yeah, round of applause, really. You know, with the advent of technology and everything that moves so fast, it's really a rarity to come across somebody who has the wherewithal to just stay in one place and do the best job every single day for 35 years. It's really been an honor to be here and to see you work and have you help us, and always step in when the city clerk, and you've served under several of them, couldn't be here. You'd always be ready, willing, and able to step in. So it's really wonderful. So thank you for all those years, and best of luck to you and your family, and enjoy yourself.
Teresa, I also want to say how grateful I am for all the work that you've done, the commitment that you have to Daly City. And I know it's quite a trek that you make every day to come out here from where you live. And it's a real testament to who you are. And you've always been so nice to me, so professional. And I just love the work that you do. And we really are going to miss you. You've left your mark here in Daly City. So congratulations to you, but we will miss you as well. Thank you. All right. With that, can I get a motion to pass that item?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Teresa. All right. Let me go to item number 2, which is authorizing the Daly City Public Library to participate in the 5th annual Food for Fines program. Mr. Curran.
Good afternoon, or good evening, Mayor Buenaventura and City Council members. The item before you is a resolution that would authorize the Daly City Public Library to participate in the Food for Fines program. That would start 1 week from tonight, November 16th. In a nutshell, what it is, and this is a program that we participated last year, patrons that have overdue fines that have accumulated on their library accounts can expunge those fines by bringing in a non-perishable food item to any of the 4 Daly City libraries. And this is something that was quite successful last year. And we're partnering, it's not just the Daly City Public Library, it's San Mateo County, Redwood City Public Library, the City of San Mateo, South San Francisco, and also joining this year is Burlingame, Menlo Park, and San Bruno are considering opting in as well. This is an item that was discussed at the October 19th regular meeting of the Daly City Public Library Board of Trustees. They overwhelmingly endorsed the idea and asked that we bring it forward to you for your consideration this evening.
Great.
I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
No, but I'd like to share a few things.
Go ahead.
It said last year, all through San Mateo County, 36,252 pounds of food was donated. And when you figure out that there were 5,475 fines that were expunged, that's about 6 pounds per fine expungement. So if you think you're going to come in with a little power bar, no. You know, this is a great opportunity to get back in the library system, but also to do a wonderful good deed for the holidays for people who really need food. So grab some things out of your kitchen, fill a grocery bag, and come down and get your library card good to go and start checking out books again. Thank you very much for sharing this with us.
And you can participate even if you don't have outstanding
Yes.
fines. And one thing I failed to mention in the report too, so we would start a week from tonight, November 16th, and go through December 31st of this year.
Great. Okay. Any other questions? If not, can I get a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. I think it's such a great idea.
It's approved. Thank you very much. We have now reached the end of the consent agenda. And now we have a request on behalf of Mark Bucciarelli, who is the applicant for the 198 Miriam planning use permit that we decided last time around, and he is requesting reconsideration.
And I have to recuse myself because I live within 500 feet of this project.
Yes.
So hopefully when this is over, someone will come and get me.
And we can't vote, we
Don't leave me
voted
hanging
yes,
out in the
right?
hallway.
So it's just
I make the
that-
motion.
We're just going to vote for
Yeah, but it's gotta be one of them, right? Because on the losing side was 2-2.
I think he could be in. He's got to come up and speak. You want to come up?
Okay, Mr. Is it Bucchiarelli? Okay, come on.
So I'm the project architect for the project, and we're just asking for reconsideration. The property owner is here, and Mr. Canepa had raised the issue of if this would be an owner-occupied property. And I did learn from the owner that he does intend to live in the bigger 5-bedroom unit and rent out the upper 3-bedroom unit. So I guess that kind of begs the question, knowing that, does that help us in keeping the 5 bedrooms?
Through the
as
city attorney.
is?
This is just for a motion for reconsideration to be considered at the next item. So
Yeah, so-
any,
Okay.
anything about the merits would be at that meeting.
So we can't really discuss it, we just
Okay.
can, the only issue is, are we gonna reconsider it, and is there a motion to reconsider?
No, I'll make the motion if it's allowable by the
Second.
yes vote. Yeah, I'll
Second.
make the motion to reconsider.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Can we get, do we need a roll call? Roll call, please.
Mr. Canepa?
Aye.
Mr. Gangona?
Aye.
Mr. Torres?
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Aye. Okay, so it'll be coming before our council on the December 14th. So you can have yourself be there or your, the owner.
Okay,
Okay?
thanks
See you
very
then.
much.
Probably bring him back to you on the 14th, just in case.
See you, Mark.
All right, now let's go on to public hearings. Ms.
Somebody get you-
Christensen is
oh,
here.
just-
All right. All right, so we have item number 8, which is the introduction of an ordinance to add chapter 5.42 to the Daly City Municipal Code regarding state video franchises. Ms. Paris?
Was that coordinated, the way you guys did that? It was really nice, it's like you both crossed like a show.
Council members and Mayor Buenaventura. Oh, good evening, council members and Mayor Buenaventura. Staff recommends that the City Council approve an ordinance to add Chapter 5.42 to the Daly City Municipal Code regarding state video franchise. The proposed ordinance will add provisions for the Digital Infrastructure and Video Competition Act of 2006, otherwise known as DIVCA, and will add provisions for the Public Educational and Government, or PEG, fees and payments. This chapter is designated to regulate video service providers holding state video franchises and operating within the city. Pursuant to DIVCA, the City of Daly City shall receive a franchise fee and fee for PEG purposes. In addition, the city will acquire the responsibility to establish and enforce penalties against all state video franchise holders operating within the city for violations of customer service standards pursuant to DIVCA. This ordinance shall have no negative fiscal impact to the city's budget, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have some.
Go ahead.
So when a company incurs penalties for violating customer service standards and a fee is fined, who gets the money?
We do.
Oh, okay. So then if your TV company is violating what they've promised you, then people let us know, or how does it get to it?
Essentially, because the whole reason behind this is because it's basically been preempted by state law for state franchises. So the fees are generated to the extent that if the fees aren't paid to the city, then we can enforce penalties as a result of them not paying it.
Okay.
So the ordinance just allows for us, because it's all occupied by the state in terms of what requirements they need to follow.
And so does it enhance our residents' ability to have better service if there's a problem?
Well, it's run by state franchise, so that component of it is up to them.
Okay,
We have an ordinance so that we can enforce the fees
Yeah.
if they don't pay it.
great. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Let me open the public hearing on this item. I have actually no speaker cards on this issue, so can I get a motion to close
So
the public
moved.
hearing?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Can I get a motion for city attorney to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Go ahead.
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Daly City adding Chapter 5.42 to the Daly City Municipal Code regarding state video franchises.
Ms. Christensen, do you want to introduce the ordinance?
Yes, I'd be honored. Thank you.
So it be said. All right, let me go on to item number 9, which is the public hearing on
Thanks, Christine.
proposed water rate adjustments for fiscal years 2016-17, 2017-18, and 2018-19. Mr. Sweetland.
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, good evening. Tonight's public hearing has been duly noticed and published with some 23,000 individual public notices to current water customers set forth under Proposition 218. Protest letters have been on file with the Office of the City Council for review. Tonight's hearing covers a number of topics keyed by a recent state appellate court decision, a water utility financial plan and rate study conducted by our consultant headed by Brown and Caldwell and assisted by Municipal Financial Services was released and set forth last Friday. Some of that content was part of past public study sessions of the council. A final copy of the report is available, and part of that is going to be a recommended lowering of the rate structure that did appear in the Proposition 218 notices. We are looking at a recommended rate structure proposed to begin January 1st of 2016. We call that the transitional rate structure. They'll also review from the city attorney on the San Juan Capistrano case. We'll go through some review of the water rates history, as well as the financial information that's in the water rate study. We will speak to the proportional cost allocation and the other items associated with. But if I may, a couple of introductory comments. Prudent expenditures to protect and enhance the community's water system requires an equally prudent financial plan and a rate structure to protect the public's investment. Rate setting is not taken lightly, and we are challenged to correlate rates with the actual cost of providing water attributable to the parcels served. The basic question that's been asked by many is, why is it that I am required to conserve only to be rewarded with higher rates? We're showing the water conservation within the region. This is San Francisco and the 26 member agencies of the Bay Area Water Supply and Conservation Agency. With the tiered cutbacks, you're looking at around 11 billion gallons of water to be saved by the end of the calendar year. You can see that approximately 13.9 billion has been saved to date. Daly City is a tier 2, 8% mandatory cutback compared to 2013. Our cumulative total is at 16.5. So residents are doing an outstanding job to conserve. We want to thank them for that. Yet, with regard to that basic question, rates themselves do not fluctuate based upon changes in demand. With an 8% tiered cutback, the water department is not responsible for 8% less water mains, 8% less reservoirs, 8% less pump stations, 8% less regulatory requirements. Beginning on October 1st, we're now in the hexavalent chromium 6 rate and blending systems. This is not to suggest that we don't pass along savings, but I will describe that later. But what that does suggest is, unlike other agencies, we are not looking to recoup lost revenues because of lower amounts of water used. The recurring rates to date demonstrate we've been pretty close to target. You'll recall the last 2 budget cycles, we had very conservative revenue estimates based upon what was then, 4 years ago, a dry year. And then the last budget cycle started with a 3rd year that became a drought that's now into the 4th year of that same drought. So what we are looking for is a mechanism by which what we are going to recommend is anticipated structure to meet anticipated rates for the operating and maintenance cost, the anticipated capital improvements, debt service obligations, and a prudent fund balance. And at this juncture, I'd like to hand the presentation over to City Attorney Rose Zimmerman to address the San Juan Capistrano State Appellate Court decision.
Thank you, Mr. Sweetland. Essentially, the San Juan Capistrano decision is a fourth appellate court district case that essentially confirmed the Proposition 218 requirements that public water agencies are to calculate the actual cost of providing water at various levels of usage. It also allowed for tiered structures. However, the burden is on the agency to demonstrate that these tiered structures represent the actual costs, again, of providing the water service to the customers, which our consultants will show in our tiered structure. Prop 218 does allow for the water agencies to make a pass-through of the true costs of water to customers who use extra water, that incurs higher costs to supply that extra water. So essentially, to the extent that we need to purchase additional water at a higher cost, we are allowed through Prop 218 to pass through that cost to the customers. The presentation tonight by the consultants essentially will show the two-tiered water structure to align ourselves with the basically the proper rates under the San Juan Capistrano decision. And staff has worked with the consultants to develop this cost of service base rates.
If I haven't already introduced Dr. Bill Feist from the firm Brown and Caldwell. The challenge we have tonight is the meshing of the information that was published as part of the 218 notice with tonight's recommendation. Brown and Caldwell was retained for the purpose of examining the current price and rate structure within Daly City. You might recall that back this past summer, the UCLA conducted a study about pricing tiers and pricing mechanisms, and it had a note for Daly City with its 11 price tiers with the comment, "Really?" with the exclamation mark. So essentially, the issue with Brown and Caldwell is to start looking at those rate structures, revenue requirements. Along came the San Juan case in April, so that refocused our energies to go look at what it is that we actually can tier the pricing against. The objectives here within the water rate study speaks in terms of the revenue sufficiency, stability, a conservation signal. We think we've accomplished that. The efficiencies and costs of implementation, acceptance, which is knowledge of how the rates are calculated so that they're transparently known, fairness, affordability, and consideration of the economics associated with the cost of water. Daly City, as most of the folks who've been around here know, we've had a drought in 1976 and 78. You can see where the population was under about 70,000. At the time, we were using about 104 gallons per person a day. You can see how that rate dropped and how conservation came into play. 7 years later, we equaled the 1976 high use. The 85 to 92 drought here, the 13 years it took to recover. In the water business, droughts aren't always climate oriented. In 2008, we had the recession, and you can see the water use had dropped. Mostly that was the vacancies in households because of foreclosures. We've had some modest rebound as a result of that, but what's interesting, around 2011 to 1985 were just mere percentage points with regard to the water use, and then some incremental increases that are being examined as new development comes online. The water use characteristics within Daly City is, for the most part, it's pretty flatline. Unlike the rest of the state where you'll see increases in the summertime versus the lowest wintertime of 50 to 60%, we're averaging maybe 15% difference. The largest category of usage is on these tiers on the existing rate structure, where you can see 25% of the users are actually using less than 6 units of water. The 7 to 10 price increment is at 13. And then from 11 to 14 units, this is 48% of our population. So you can see the water use is very, very low.
Units per what?
The units, thank
Per
you
month
for the
or
question.
per
This
bill?
is the units for billing cycle.
Yep.
And of course, a unit is 748 gallons of water. That's the basic unit by which we price the water. That's measured at the meter. But this is the bi-monthly billing. From that, as we said, if you look at the high use of July and August, which is no surprise, but compare it to the low use of March and April, we're talking about a 15%. And what we're showing here is the various classifications of use throughout the city of Daly City to get to those numbers. So like I said, unlike other agencies, you don't see a big swing in water. It's pretty flat. We're using the 13, 14 totals of some 3 million cubic feet of water, 100 cubic feet of water as the measure. This is the same slide, but just showing the various use tiers by month versus the 0 to 6, 7 to 10. The 11 price tiers are shown here. It's just kind of to reinforce where most of the water is being used. And that 48% of use is going to be an important policy consideration as we move forward with the staff recommendation as we allocate where the tiers should fall. Over time, we are projecting very low use. That's basically what we're showing here is what we believe to be prudent allocation based upon growth and consultation with economic and community development. None of us will know what the effect of El Nino will be until after El Nino starts, until after El Nino ends. That won't be until April of next year. The reality of an El Nino, if it's raining, people are not irrigating. You're still stuck with a lot of indoor use. And again, as we mentioned with that basic question, the price fluctuations of the price and expenditures aren't dependent upon demand. We are anticipating about, for each month, 9 units as average use, which correlates to the 18 average use within 18 units used by residents in Daly City as the average. The program capital and debt service expenditures are outlined here that were within the report. The staff memo speaks in terms of revenue neutral with regard to the transitional rate structure. And it's important to note that we are not asking for that transitional rate structure for new revenues. We're only looking to how to match the existing usage with the existing approved budget. What you see is the approved budget 14-15, the approved budget 15-16, then you see various cost escalators. Start of next year, we'll begin the biennial budgets for both capital and operations and maintenance. So the direction to the consultant team was to estimate a 3%, in some aspects, salaries, operations, 1% for commodities, just basic accounting principles to get us some numbers to see where we are in the ballpark. All of this will be subject to your review as part of the biennial rates and biennial budget review later on, but it has to provide an estimate as how we got to the rate structure that we're now recommending. The projected revenues shown here is important to note. These are the projected revenues from water sales. There are other elements, but water sales is close to 95% of all revenues within the water fund utility. This is the water fund target that we're showing here from the report. As we begin looking to how you go to a proportional cost allocation, you're starting to look at the required revenues, which is based upon your budget, and then you're starting to look at what are the costs associated with the variable use of water. That's the meter, that's the cost, that's the variable of it. You know, we can see that 48% of the population is using 14 units or less. And so I don't think there's much of an argument that if you use more, then you should be charged more. The other challenge is to look at where the fixed cost, and here is the fire protection. This is where everybody gets the same benefit. Here is a capacity charge based upon use. Every ratepayer gets the benefit of the fire protection, meters and laterals, the customer costs, which is utility billing and the finances. Everybody, gets the same benefit from those costs. The challenge is to how to go about accounting for those costs, again, using the approved budget. The thing that we looked at was the cost versus what is a prudent target for the reserves. We're showing here a straight line for the 180-day target balance on the high end with a low end 90-day target. There's kind of a high and low, and the projected revenues and the projected rates and the use of the fund balance is shown in that dark line. What's important is, again, this is what was shown in the water rate study, and then how to then apply that water rate study into those unit costs. So based upon the revenue required from the sale of water from the report, what we broke out was the San Francisco supply is roughly 40% of our expenditures and equivalent 40% of the revenue required. As we start looking with the groundwater cost, The groundwater costs themselves is about 7% of our expenses, so we intend to capture 7% off the revenues. The supply distribution is both the operation costs as well. That's the operators who apply, go out and respond, who maintain the water system, and the distribution side. So all of our labor costs in the field plus comparable capital are shown here. As we started to take a look at the fire protection, which everybody benefits, it's the actual cost with capital based upon the equivalence use of meters. And what we did with the meters was take a look at each size of the meters in play. We basically looked at the capacity through each meter to get an equivalency factor, took the entire number of meters with the equivalency factor to come up with what that cost benefit was. The customer, that's just the revenue and allocation based upon the cost for utility billing and finance attributable costs, along with the number of accounts to get these unit costs per month.
I have a question.
Yes.
The public fire protection, the $5.30 there, that is a unit cost per what? I can't really
This
see.
is actually, if I could, what this is actually showing, did I go too far? Maybe I have. Let me get back there. My apologies. This is the
Right.
number, we have 22,000 meters in the system. 95% of those meters are going to be the 3/4, 5/8 that serves 95% of
Right.
our single-family multifamilies. So at 30 gallons per meter, that's the EDU is basically one. But at each meter size, and we have meters that go from 1.5 to 12 inches in
Yeah,
size.
big ones.
So we use the equivalency factor based upon the standardized flow that you can calculate through that meter to get a gallons per minute. So
Okay.
what you're looking at is the actual unit of the equivalent meter is based upon all those meters with their equivalency factors to come up with a factor by which you can then divide cost to come up to that unit cost.
And so everybody pays,
Correct.
that's part of a fixed cost,
Correct, and if I may, to kind of
because we're all getting the same fire protection.
you get the
Okay.
same benefit.
Right.
And that same benefit, if you look at, if you can put an invisible line between here, and my apologies, my friend
Yeah.
Bill. The San Francisco supply is the cost divided by the number of units we intend to buy to get a unit cost for that water. Same with the groundwater supply. So there's unit cost. And then within that unit cost, if you can see that the units of use is the sum of the two amounts that we intend on buying. So for the variable cost of water, we're looking at the 531 and the 220. That came up with the 750. That was the tier 2 cost within the water rate.
Yep.
And then the $1.04 with the 220 rounded up was the 330. So those are the variable costs based upon the actual use. Based upon the meter size, we then calculated for the size of the meter. This is the calculation to about $14.80 a month, which is the standard 5/8 3/4 inch meter. Higher size meters will pay a higher because of that equivalency factor. But you see the dividing line between the fixed cost that
rates.
everybody benefits
Yeah.
from, and then the comparison
And everything
to the,
above is per unit.
is the per unit cost.
Gotcha.
So the current and proposed tiers and costs that were part of the 218 mailing, you can see the current, this is all the unit charges. What you see here is 11 tiers that are pretty tightly compressed. The purpose behind the UCLA study is where's the conservation price point, Daly City, based
Yeah.
upon this set of tiers, based upon that set of uses. This basic formula goes back to 1975. At the time of 1975, Daly City didn't charge for the first 8 units of water. Basically put that cost as part of the meter charge. That was changed following the drought in 1978 to 6 units of water. So since 1978 to current, this has been the current charge cost per meter.
So those of us with very low water use have basically been getting our water for free.
The
I mean,
other-
the water itself.
The other side of that
It's time
same
to pay
coin
now.
is the others have been paying higher amounts to subsidize the lower amounts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what the court case said we can't do anymore.
Difficulty
Gotcha.
with the San Juan court case says that's no longer a sustainable practice because it falls against the requirements under Proposition 218 that you have to calculate the actual cost of water per parcel served. And that's the challenge confronting us. And the intent behind the transitional rate structure is to transition to that based upon the current approved budget. You can see the outline moving forward and what that 8% tiered rate for the next 3 fiscal years. And it's important to note, and I hope you picked up on it in the staff memorandum, it's a not to exceed 8% each fiscal year. And that covers both the tiered units of water as well as the transitional costs for the monthly, for the meter charge.
Right.
Again, one of the difficulties here is we're showing you the monthly charge. Everybody in the audience knows they get a bi-monthly bill. So the bi-monthly bill based on usage with the bi-monthly bill based upon the charge of the meter. So the 1606, which is the current charge, is $32.12, which one of our customers reminded me of my poor math. Is now going to be decreased to $14.80, and what we've basically done is calculate these costs based upon what that meter provides in both equivalency, so that will change as well. Before I go to the next slide, I think it's real important if I could ask all of you to turn to page 4 of your staff memorandum. If I may get us all onto the same page by asking all of us to get onto the same page. At the time that we put the 218 announcement out, we were calculating, as you can see, the cash flow on page 4 of your memorandum. It shows $8,060,000. And what's important to note within that cash flow fund balance is that amount included the savings from San Francisco purchases that was about $978,000. Subsequent to putting this information together, working with the finance department, working with the consultants on the actual audited cost, we have a new cash flow. And this new cash flow demonstrates instead of $8,060,000, we're actually anticipating $8.5 million in cash flow. This is a result of additional savings being passed on the power of about $122,000, as well as a deferral of the engineering associated with the water well production of about $318,000, with another $70,200 of miscellaneous savings. So instead of $8,060,000 as shown, our fund balance is actually increased to $8.5 million. Where we had talked in terms of needed revenues of $20.5 million, we're now recommending $19.5 million because the corresponding decrease in capital has changed from $4.3 million to $3.4 million. Again, the difference is the deferral of a water well project that at this juncture we don't see the necessity to go after in light of those very stagnant water increases over time. We can certainly revisit it, but as the council had directed staff, as the city manager had directed staff during the study sessions, you asked us to come back with all savings that we could provide and still maintain the adequate debt service, capital, operating costs, as well as the fund balance.
So we have a $500,000 savings because, is that what we're saying here?
Saying
Because
that
because the water district was saving wherever it could.
Wherever we could apply the savings that we have basically demonstrated for the public, as we said.
Right, yeah,
The
okay.
basic elements of why during a drought you're increasing rates, well, you know, is the fixed cost versus demand.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's not to say that we aren't passing on costs where we can pass on those costs. And what we're attempting to demonstrate here is where we're passing those costs on. If you also take a look, we're also recommending approximately $2.6 million of difference from fund balance to help offset this transitional rate structure moving forward. As you can see from the ending cash, you can see we have new fund balances associated with that moving forward. It's important to also note that this also indicates the not to exceed 8% as recommended in the staff, and for the 1920 as a placeholder 5%. So if you're asking for how the numbers are being generated, That's how the numbers are in fact being generated. And as you can see from this revision, you can see our cash flow is kind of in between that 90, not to go below, and 180. So we're kind of in that spot in between with regard to all the program expenditures that are anticipating, as well as the fund balance moving forward. As a result of the mathematics, what we are now recommending as part of the transition, we are looking to recommend a lower structure, as you directed us to take a hard look at. So as you can see, the report and the 218 values are shown here in the blue. What we are recommending is the $3.10. The $3.10, when we talked about the groundwater, 48% of our customers are using 14 units or less.
And that includes businesses as well as home use.
This is everybody. That's a good point, and I appreciate that. This is everybody. Single-family, multifamily businesses. We know we have a pretty flat usage of water in Daly City, so 48% of our customers are using 14 units or less. That corresponds pretty close to our groundwater supply, which accounts for 46% of our water supply. 46%.
That's our cheap water, right?
This is, well,
cheaper.
they're never going to get me on record saying water is cheap. It is the least expensive water.
Least expensive, okay.
We all know that the issue with water is life. It's unlike any other commodity that we have. You need it for any number of purposes. So it is our least expensive water. So what we're showing here is that every user in Daly City gets the benefit of the lower price tier. It isn't until you hit that 15th unit of water, and here's our conservation signal, because that's the San Francisco water, which is much higher as a result. And we all know the reasons for that. It's part of a $4.6 billion upgrade to seismic retrofit a system that we're all dependent upon. So the rates will in fact go up. But consistent with 218, you do have the advantage of looking at where those tiers are. So in the past, where we had closely compressed 11 tiers, we're now recommending a more straightforward Tier 1, which takes into account groundwater at $3.10. And then a $7.10 because of the remaining customers, we have to, we provide them service with more expensive water. And you can see the corresponding decrease in the meter and service charges from the 1480 to the 1410. And again, the not to exceed values are shown here for purposes of comparison.
So this chart, when you show that line that shows $3.10 per unit, that's in the first 14 units, that's where most of us are. So now for the first time, we're actually, those of us at the really low end, the no charge ends, are actually going to have to pay our fair share.
That's correct. And we have a graph that kind of shows how that balances itself out, where those who might argue that same coin saying, I've been paying too much.
Yeah, that next group up's been paying my water bill.
Well, we have a graph that kind of points that out a little bit graphically, but that is the point moving forward.
Yeah.
So the proposed tiers are shown here to capture what those costs are. Emphasis again with the footnotes. The transitional period begins January the 1st, and that's just the transition to recover the cost of the approved budget, although less now as a result of the savings that are being provided. And then the transitional rate structure moving forward is showing that not to exceed 8%, both in the value of the units, also with the value of the proposed monthly base charge. I do believe there was a request to say, well, show me what that means. Well, this is what it means. Folks who had that 0 to 6 just ensconced in the meter charge will now start paying a lower meter charge, but obviously need to start paying the actual true cost of that water as set forth by the rate study as we're moving ahead. And so you can see along the first 20 units, you can see what the cost differences are.
Yeah, so when you, yeah,
Right around that 11%
Yeah.
is where it starts to break, where this tier of users will be basically paying less, and then the higher users will be paying basically higher.
so
because of
that line where it's in tier 1, where it says 6 units, all the way over is the 46% increase, but that's because we have not been paying for water.
Based upon the interpretation from the
So
San
we
Juan
should be
Capistrano
grateful
case.
for all the previous years when we didn't pay anything. And
I
say
don't know
thank
if I'm
you.
gonna get that tonight,
And
but
say,
that is the point.
and say thank you to those people who paid our bills for us.
That's right.
You're welcome.
Oh, you're a higher user, okay.
I got 2 kids at home, so yeah.
What this is showing is exactly that.
Okay,
The blue line essentially is the current rate structure.
right.
As it now stands. One of the examinations was a uniform tiered rate, and you
Yeah.
can see that has a much higher cost and really no
for
public
everybody.
benefit because everybody pays the same. Where's the conservation incentive? The 2-tiered rate structure is shown here on red. So right around the 11th unit is where you start seeing that price break until you get to that 14th unit. And here at 15, you're starting to show that $7.10 moving forward. So that's, and the line somewhat matches around 40, and then it starts to split again. But what this does show is what has been articulated is, has the lower tiers been paying their full fair share of water? And based upon our reading and understanding of the San Juan Capistrano case, that is something
no
that we
choice
are
about that.
essentially trying to correct. The 18 units of water has been the standard by which is the average use. That's around the 50% tier. 50% used, 18 units in a bi-monthly, the 9 units that we showed you on the graph for the cost and the usage comparison. And you can see that their rate actually will decrease as a result as we move forward. So from 106 currently to $100 flat, then again, we've taken the high-end recommendation just to pull those costs. And they'll always try to, in past practice is where are we in relationship to everybody else? And if this was not a self-serving slide, I probably wouldn't show it. But what this does show is at 18 units of water at the $100. If you also go back to see those tiered costs moving forward over the next 3 years against our friends and neighbors, we're still below that. Alameda County Water District did a rate study in which they looked at 32 local water agencies, and Daly City was in that lower third quadrant of costs. So that doesn't come to a surprise, but again, there's always that question between cost and value.
We're also among the best conservers.
We are among the best conserving. We continue to be one of the best conserving, and again, we just need to do that because the circumstances ahead of us. The last element, if I may, and I know I've thrown a lot at you, is within the rate structure and the proposal is the adherence to Government Code Section 53-756, and that's intended to help protect us from the rate volatility of the San Francisco PUC. And I don't mean this to be disparaging. I just mean that this is a difficult aspect with revenue requirements based upon a $4.6 billion rehab of the HECI system, which we all benefit from for purposes of better earthquake protection. But what this does show, what this does show is that in 14-15, that unit cost of water for the wholesale rate of San Francisco was $2.93. Wow. The original projected cost for 15-16 was $3.45. The reality is we are now paying $3.75 for that wholesale cost of water since July 1st. The projections for 16-17 was $3.78, a very flat rate. But based upon information from the San Francisco PUC's rate division, we are now looking at upwards of a $4.47 low estimate and a $5 high estimate. So the purpose behind the Government Code section is to protect us from that rate adjustment, to allow that pass-through of those costs absent legislative action, And of course, these costs would only be related to the pass-through for the 15 units and more. It doesn't affect the groundwater. It's only going to be affecting the cost of surface water from San Francisco. We threw a lot at you with regard to the 218, the appellate decision, a water rate study, and basically how we got to where we are today. And myself and Dr. Feist are happy to answer any questions of the City Council.
Go ahead. Do you have any? Here's the answer. Okay, let me open the public hearing on this item. I have several speaker cards. When I call your name up, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes. Let me start with Eva Skofis. Skofis, come on up, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm against the rate of the water. I'm been with the city of San Francisco many years ago, and we were trying to eliminate the rates. I think it's unfair to the seniors. It's unfair to small businesses, which they have to close businesses, restaurants, laundromats, doggy salons, they go out of business because of the water rates. We conserve as you ask us, and you pay us with a rate for trying to do the right thing. I am against, that's all.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Skofis. Juanita Richardson? Juanita Richardson? No? Okay, Victor Hug? Victor, come on up.
Good evening, City Council members.
Evening.
Is this water rate also extended to the Coma area?
This is to the.
No?
No, it's Daly City.
Only Daly City? Oh, okay. Then probably, I don't know, I mean, I received a letter from my, so.
Well, it's nice to meet you.
But since you're here, I'm just kidding.
Leonardo Bordador Jr.? Mr. Bordador?
I just wanted to say that I'm against the water increase. The total yearly revenues, water and wastewater, is 747,000. I got this from the public records. And Mr. Streetland here is building a shed to house 2 tractors or machineries behind our house in Fairlawn Court. It's on Wildwood Avenue, and it costs $154,500 to house his tractors. We asked Mr. Sweetland to hold off until we speak to the council, and he replied, I don't care what the people on that block want. I have a job to do, and I'm going to do it. We don't trust Mr. Sweetland.
Thank you, Mr. Bordadero. Guy Marston?
Good evening to each one of you.
Good evening.
I'd like to say one thing about Daly City, that the employees in Daly City could not explain this to me. It took me 4 people to talk to before I got to Patrick.
Yeah, it's difficult to understand.
That is really ridiculous. I don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand what you guys are trying to present to your residents, to your citizens of this county, of this city over here. Now, number 2, I was just looking at Patrick's video stuff, and of course I find that the transition over here says $3.30. Patrick was showing $3.10. Patrick, please go back and take a look at that. So I do not understand what is the right price for it. Right now, I do not understand what is the right price, $3.30 or $3.10. Transition number 1 for 2014, 2015, and 2016. This is the most ridiculous thing that I have seen over here that you guys have put up over here, and I hope the council members will look at it closely before you guys give your vote on it. And I'm asking that, I'm absolutely against this. Every year we get to see raises. on our water bill, on our gas, on our garbage bill, and all the other bills that keep on coming in every day. I'm seeing something coming in that there's a increase in our payments. I myself do not get even an increase for a nonprofit organization, but I have to see increases coming from Daly City every day, every year. So I ask y'all to please look at it closely before you all make a decision as to whether we should be having this increase or not.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Pui Shan Kun.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I'm here again the water race. The reason is I live in my condo more than 13 years, and from 3 people became 5 people because I get married, I have a baby. And like this gentleman said, baby child using a lot of water. Even I try my best. Within this half year, I bought a new washer, dryer, water tank, because I live in 13 years, so everything is old. So I try my best to save the water and the utility too. But however, the baby costing a lot of, not only the water, money too. It's every month still increasing, even though we are working every single day, but my parents and the baby stay at home all day long. It's no way for us, there's no way for me telling them, don't use the water, Even though I knew we don't have enough water, but the baby costing a lot of water because the clothes, bottle, eating, this is the reason why it's getting harder and harder for us who have a newborn baby and more member in the house. And it's not easy for us to live separately because now the house is getting more expensive too, and even including the rent, It's not easy for us to survive every day. And the salary never increase, and the boss try to cut down the money every single day and push you more work, but we cannot balance too. Our finance every single day, it's hard to balance right now. And now the water raising, I know, is try to telling people don't waste it. And that's why I try to do my best. Within half years, I spent almost $3,000 to change all this big equipment, to try to save the money from the government, from the water, from myself. But however, it's hard. Thank you.
Thank you.
ma'am.
Can I just make a comment before
Yeah,
she
go
goes? She made a comment about the water. You call your plumber, because one thing I found out is the water pressure can be adjusted to a certain way where you can actually save some water, because our water wasn't pressured right, and he came out and he readjusted the pressure. And I can't, as I sit here now, I can't remember if it was more water pressure or less water pressure, but what it was the way it was flowing through the house was making us use it longer periods of time. Like, say, for example, if the water comes out a little too slow in the shower, you end up taking longer showers, so you end up taking more water. So if the pressure changes, the water will come out a little quicker, so you end up taking quicker showers. So ask your plumber, because we had him come out and he redid everything, and we actually saved water that way. So just. Yeah, so ask your condo association or your plumber and just see what you can do. Okay, it's just a trick. So.
One more trick. Also, if you can, talk to your other people that are on that same water heater and turn it from hot to warm.
Yeah.
And
Saves money, yeah.
it does save money.
120.
And it doesn't come out so scaldingly hot, and it really does. It's a significant savings if you just turn it down a little bit.
Yeah, that's why I changed the water tank,
Good.
And we stopped bathing our kids. So. Just kidding.
Sharon Keenan. Sharon?
Honorable Mayor and council members, I'm glad to listen to what Patrick has to say about this, because when I got the letter meant nothing to me.
Yeah.
If he would have just said, this year your unit is gonna be this year your unit's gonna be that, we would have understood everything. If we're raising it because of the water, how come we're raising the meter size? Putting a raise on the meter? Because that's gonna be quite a big jump to do the meter. I don't see the purpose for that. But it's true. I mean, it seems like all we hear about is that this is going up, that's going up, this is going up. And let's face it, you live in a community where you have an awful lot of older people who are retired. And ours is not going up. If anything, it's going down with the things that they're taking out. So I would appreciate it if maybe I could call Pat at his office and he could clarify just what I'm looking at in the way of an increase, because I figure it's gonna be maybe like $38 more bi-monthly, and I'm not sure that that's a right figure, and
Yeah,
that
probably not.
it gets to be quite expensive for people who use a higher rate, because that's only on 7 units. So I would appreciate it if Pat would give me some time.
I'm sure he
and
will.
I'll give him a call,
Yeah, I'm sure
and
he
he
will.
could straighten these things out for me.
All right.
Thank you.
Sharon. I have no other speaker cards. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I have a quick question.
Actually, just through the mayor, just for the record, we did receive, just to record a number of written protests, we received 27 letters.
Okay.
Was anyone for it?
Okay, Mr. Torres.
Quick question, and to the city attorney or for Mr. Sweetland. Because it's an appellate court decision that we have to abide by, what leeway does the city have to not approve these rate increases, if any?
Okay, so the existing rate structure currently may or may not survive judicial scrutiny in the event that you are challenged, because essentially what has been provided by the consultant is that the actual costs don't provide necessarily a nexus.
So essentially, to put it another way, is if we don't vote for this water increases, we are opening ourselves up for one person to file a lawsuit against us saying we're in violation of a court-ordered mandate. And that would not only require the rates to be increased anyway by judicial decision, but also cost us the money it would cost us to defend the litigation should we decide as a council not to raise the rates.
Yes,
Is that
we do
correct?
open that
Okay.
possibility.
Any other questions?
No, I have a comment. I read all the letters, and as a senior on a fixed income myself, I understand the challenges and how difficult it is. But in this case, we are not given any leeway. A lot of people said, could there be a special rate for seniors or the disabled? But the court case clearly states that we cannot do that. Everybody has to pay for what they actually use. And those of us who were using very little water were getting the benefit of not paying for it all these years. And that's why our bills are going to increase percentage-wise the most. And at first, you know, I was very concerned about that. That's like, yikes, it's going to go up a lot. But then I had to think, well, what about how much money did I save all those years when I didn't pay for my water? I mean, this is not going to be retroactive. You're not going after me for what I didn't pay when I probably should have, to be fair and equitable.
Which is what some jurisdictions are doing, right? Aren't they going back to recoup monies that they could have? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Judith.
I'm just glad you're not coming after me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on behalf of all the other seniors who didn't use very much water, we're glad as well. But it is going to be challenging to meet these. And I know that, I don't know if it was totally clear, the 8% increase is a maximum. That covers increase in wages, additional mandatory testing of the water and things, modifications that you have to do to the water to comply with federal and state law. Everything is going up, like people have said. So the cost of the water is going up as well. But if the actual cost is not 8%, then the bills are not going to go up 8%. It's only going to go up what it actually costs. So I think we need to keep a tab on this, and I'd certainly like Patrick to, throughout the the next years, is report to us. Where is it looking? Is it looking like a 5% or a 6%, or are we going to have to raise it all the way to the 8? And I'm sure that that's part of what you'll be reporting to us during the year.
All right, any other comments from the council? I want to thank the presentation that was made by staff.
Challenging,
It was-
yeah.
Yeah, it was very challenging. I want to also thank Mr. Torres and Ms. Christensen for, I think, really, asking the right questions and illustrating the understanding of what's really going on and educating the public on why this is something we don't really have a choice in doing. So with that, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call?
Ms. Christensen,
Yes.
Mr. Canepa.
Aye.
Mr. Gangona,
Aye.
Mr. Torres,
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr.
Yeah, I think it's
Buenaventura.
all a reluctant
Aye.
yes.
All right, that motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming out and expressing your thoughts on this issue. All right, let's go on to ordinances, item number 10, which is the second reading ordinance 1402, amending chapter 12.36 regarding park hours and prohibited activities. Ms. Zimmerman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item came before the City Council at the last regularly scheduled City Council meeting. This is the second reading of ordinance number 1402.
All right, any questions? None? Can I get a motion to adopt the ordinance?
So moved.
Can I get a
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Ms. Christensen,
Yes.
Mr. Canepa.
Aye.
Mr. Gangona,
Aye.
Mr. Torres,
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura.
Aye.
And just for the public, that means the park hours will be sunrise to sunset, and you can't be flying those
Drones,
drones in the city parks.
without a drone permit.
All right, let's
Yeah.
go on to public appearances, oral communications. I have 2 speaker cards. The first one is Michelle Miranda. Michelle Miranda, come on up. You have 2 minutes.
I'll make it fast.
All right.
Good evening, council, staff, and members of the public. My name is Michelle Miranda, and I represent Y Green Energy Fund. We are a leading PACE provider, and I am your regional account manager for this region. Y Green is the word energy spelled backwards. PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy, which is becoming a game-changing tool in California for making water conservation, energy efficiency, solar, seismic retrofitting, and other measures accessible to all. Y Green is a leader in both residential and commercial PACE financing, with demonstrated success in the multifamily commercial sector, particularly relevant in Daly City. This has been one of the most compelling reasons for widespread adoption of our program in the Silicon Valley region, including our recent approval from the County of San Mateo and the City of San Jose back in August. We have several local contractors in the area that are eager to use our program, who will likely speak during public comment at an upcoming council meeting to voice their strong support of approving our program in Daly City. Tonight, Caesar came from Solar City. He's one of my contractors, to offer his support for adoption for Y Green this year. Making Y Green's program available to Daly City property owners could be a key driver of economic activity in meeting sustainability targets this calendar year. We understand how important water and energy conservation is to the city from conversations with staff earlier this spring. Many residential and commercial property owners need and want to weatherize their homes and commercial buildings before the majority of the winter rainy season over the next 2 months. A majority of home and small and mid-sized businesses can get completed in just a few weeks, so activating our program locally would truly materialize a solid volume of work. I can keep going, but I know I'm short on time. So in short, we've already recruited several local contractors who are eager to use our program and just need council's approval to start work. Please consider directing staff to get Y Green approved in Daly City this year. Thank
Hey,
you very
that
much.
was good.
Thank you.
All right, Cesar Cabrera.
Evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Year 2006, President Obama signed the Solar Initiative, wherein 30% tax credit is being given to all citizens to entice everybody to go solar. 3 months, less than a month ago, Governor Brown signed another law wherein he wants, by the year 2030, 50% of all buildings in California, buildings, meaning residential, commercial, and government, should be in solar, should have solar roofing. I'm one of the I'm in the flooring business and also in minor residential improvement, and I'm also in the solar business. There are other cities now that are, the citizens of those other cities do benefit from their company. We are using for financing companies, but so far theirs is the best because the lowest with all the deductions that they are giving, the APR is very low, and it's very beneficial to all other residents of other counties and cities, except Daly City. So I implore you, I beg of you, gentlemen, residents of Daly City should be enjoying what other cities are enjoying because they give 100% financing, no down payment, all deductions, and hopefully you will accede to her request for approval. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's all we have for public appearances, oral communications. Then we go on to appointments. Any appointments tonight?
Yes,
Go
I'd
ahead.
like to appoint Bill Lex back to the Library Commission, William Lex.
We have a motion.
A second.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Hearing none. Mr. Lex is reappointed.
Congratulations, Bill.
All right, going on to reports. Item 11, council committee reports. Any council committee reports? Hearing none. How about city council reports? Any city council reports? Go ahead.
I've got some stuff to report.
Okay.
Just to follow up on what we did since the last meeting, on October 30th, we had the chamber Halloween party. Judith and I were judges along with Helen Fizzicaro and some other people. God, Judith, how many people did we see? 200?
There were over 300 kids in costume who
And
came.
we gave
We
away.
got there like
2:30?
5:45, and I didn't get home until 7:15.
No, we were there for a while. But let me just say this, it's growing every
Wonderful.
year.
Yeah.
It's growing every year. We gave away some really interesting prizes, and I have to say that every year it gets better and better. We saw Campbell's soup, but we had the winning one was a refrigerator. It was actually, she walked in with a refrigerator, and she was actually a refrigerator. It was very good. On November 2nd, again, another chamber event. The chamber golf tournament happened. No, there were no hole-in-ones, no cars awarded, but there were a lot of people there. And again, it was a very successful event. On November 6th, a Filipino company opened in Daly City that hadn't opened here before. Banco de Oro opened up their remittance place on Gellert, where the old Big and Tall store used to be. And right next to it is a interesting. It's a real estate development company it's from the Philippines, Shoemart Development, but they're selling property in the Philippines to people in the United States that want to buy them, and so it's pretty interesting out there. A couple other things, guys, if I could just get your indulgence on. There's some things that are time sensitive that I really like to get out there, and one of them is that last Friday I had a meeting with an American hero. And it's just so fitting that on Veterans Day that I'm able to make this announcement and request to my colleagues. I met with Tony Taguba. Tony Taguba was the highest-ranking Filipino-American general in the Army. He was, most interestingly enough, he was the one that was the head of the Abu Ghraib jail. And he was the one that blew the whistle on the things that were happening at Abu Ghraib jail. But I didn't meet with him about that. What I met with him was with other people that had relatives that had survived the Bataan Death March. Now, Tony Taguba had his father was a Philippine scout and was in the went in the Bataan Death March. And 4 months before he died, he told the story to his son, the general. And he said, I was there on the death march. They paid me $60 for his entire military career as a Philippine scout. And then after that, they took away the Rescission Act, took away the promise of citizenship. And that Rescission Act was signed in 1945, 4 years after FDR federalized all the guerrilla activity in the Philippines. So the point I'm trying to make is this, is that two things are happening. AB 199 was passed by Rob Bonta. Rob Bonta is assembly member in Alameda, and what he did was he got this AB 199 passed. It was to include in the curriculum in California the efforts of and sacrifices of Filipinos in World War II. And this is not to give benefits or anything like that. This is just to recognize them, and also to put in the curriculum this. This is the same exact efforts that have been done by the Tuskegee Airmen, the women air service pilots, the Navajo code talkers, and Japanese American Nisei soldiers. So we're just following along in that, and that the dream is that those things are taught to every child in California because it's important. At least that's what this group thinks. So AB 199. So the first thing I want to do is I would like to ask if this council would mind sending a letter to the Instructional Quality Commission. Now, I talked to Judith a little bit about what the Instructional Quality Commission is because she's a teacher, and they're having a meeting 11/19 in Sacramento. And I have some sample letters that we could sign as a group. They'd like to bring those letters up to Sacramento and in front of this Instructional Quality Commission, try to urge them to pass this, to basically implement a law. The law is AB 199. How is it going to get put in the schools? Through the Instructional Quality Commission. So, number one, first request is that we do this AB 199 letter to this Instructional Quality Commission. Judith, who's on this commission anyway?
Well, textbooks. It's about textbooks. And usually it's about every 7 years that the state of California reviews and revises what they want to see in their textbooks. And so there is a group of teachers and other educational professionals who meet. There's small groups and districts all over the state, but then the final group votes on what they think should be in the textbooks. And when that's approved, then that list of what should be in the textbook goes to the textbook writers. And if they don't comply with what's requested, then they can't sell their books to public schools in the state of California. California is a very big state. So many of these companies basically not only do it for California, but they include that information to a lot of the smaller states who will just go along with it because they don't want to have to pay for that whole process. Texas is another state that has a lot of influence. So this is an opportunity to guarantee that basically the soldiers who fought in the Philippines on all of our behalf get recognized in some small way. In San Francisco public schools, it has not been in the curriculum in the textbooks that the state approves, but teachers on their own and district encouragement has been to include that information in the teaching of history. When I was teaching high school back in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, it was included by every U.S. history teacher or world history teacher because of the sensitivity of, let's make sure that everyone gets honored for their service.
Thank you. So that's the first request. So I would ask the mayor if we could reach some sort of consensus. I have the letters, and it is time sensitive.
I say let's do it.
Sure. The law's already in effect, though, right?
Hasn't been implemented. AB 199 said we suggest that you put this in your books.
Okay.
So
it wasn't mandated.
So it would be to the commission that,
It wasn't
it would
mandated.
be for the commission that makes the final decision.
Okay.
And
step up and do the right
And the reason
thing.
why I think it's significant, not only because it's Veterans Day, not only because of that, but the fact is that we have the largest Filipino population outside the Philippines living in this town. I think it's relevant to do that. The second thing is a little bit is also along those same lines, and I'll explain that one very, very quickly. Okay, so HR 2737. This is the Filipino Filipino Veterans of World War II Gold Medal Act of 2015. Now, there were 200,000 Filipinos that fought in World War II. There are 18,000 left. Okay, so there's 18,000 that are still alive, and it is a dying breed. Now, the request of H.R. 2737 is to do exactly what I've told you about what the Tuskegee Airmen did, what the Women's Air Service pilots did, what the Navajo Code Talkers did, and Japanese American Nisei soldiers did. They lobbied Congress, and they got their legislators to pass a law that said we're going to be recognized. And the way that they recognized them was with a gold medal. There will be one gold medal that will be made. The rest will be bronze replicas. Those bronze replicas will go to the survivors. If there is no survivor, then it goes to the wife, it goes to the family. So what we're trying to do is get one into each one of these families. There are 60 signatories so far on the Senate side and about 100 and something on the House side. And what I'm asking is that, again, I have the letters. They're being given to me by Cecilia Gerlon, and it's basically urging them to do what they've done for these other groups, and that is recognize them. Now, here's why this is time sensitive. A, the group's shrinking. B, in March, we've worked really hard to get all these names. In March, re-election time. So if we don't get it passed by March, we'll have to start all over again. And quite frankly, I don't think there's enough will to start all over again. So this is a last-ditch effort to do this. What my request is, again, is just a letter in support, one to the Senate side, one to the House of Representatives side, just saying that we are in support of H.R. 2737.
Okay, let's do it. All right.
Well, that's good. Good. No, that was about it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Campbell, Joni?
No, I want to move forward with the
All right,
agenda.
and item number 13, any staff report?
Oh, wait a second.
Oh,
I just had a few things.
oh, okay.
We only have one more council meeting before the end of the year, so I'm looking ahead to 2016. And in the last several months, we've talked about changing the municipal code to allow more than one student in a home school business, you know, like the music teachers or art teachers. So I want to definitely keep that in our mind. There was the discussion about allowing, changing the number of pets that could be allowed in a household.
That's right.
And perhaps even reviewing our pet care requirements and owner responsibilities. We have talked, it has been brought up by a number of people and actually by people in the planning department to consider some sort of additional parking requirement for any unit that has more than 4 bedrooms. There has been a concern about parking tickets after the street sweeper. I say, let's fix that one. I mean, surely there's technology we can do that. And changing the hours for the permit-only parking so that we can, I just want to get into and solve some of these things. So New Year, let's keep our eye on the prize on those things.
I got one more, Ray. I got one more. I'm so sorry. Okay, listen, this is just a follow-up. Again, this is a follow-up to a request I made earlier. I had requested that I'd be allowed to write a letter to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And oftentimes when you write these letters, they just go into a black hole and you kind of never get anything back. But I got a letter back, and I'd like to let you know that and let's just read it to you. Dear Councilmember Gingona, thank you for your July 7th, 2015 letter regarding the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau's work on payday lending. In particular, thank you for sharing your insights about the work being done in Daly City to regulate high-cost loans and for the Council's resolution in support of the Bureau's work. The Bureau shares your concerns about consumer harm from long-term use of payday loans. We're concerned that lenders are offering credit without assessing borrowers' ability to repay their loans, and that many consumers struggle to pay their loans and have to reborrow, default, or fall behind in their obligations. The outline of proposals released in March of 2015 for payday, vehicle, title, and similar loans that we are considering for rulemaking will address these harms. Under the proposals, lenders either would need to determine that a consumer has the ability to repay a loan or would need to take specific steps to keep consumers from being caught in a cycle of debt on their short-term loans. The proposals under consideration, if implemented, would establish a federal floor for consumer protections for covered loans. They'd be extended to coexist with stricter consumer protection laws and regulations at the state level, like what Councilmember Torres had suggested the last time, and that was that the state or some other entity take over. We want to ensure that consumers are offered the same benefits and protections no matter where the consumer is, which institution extends the credit, or what type of license the institution uses to operate. As the Bureau considers regulatory options for the payday lending market, we're cognizant of the importance of state and local regulation in this market. States and municipalities have extensive experience regulating small dollar lending. As the Bureau considers federal regulation of these products, we appreciate and welcome the expertise you share with us. And it goes on to, this guy talks about how great he is at the end. So, all right, and that's about it. Signed, Richard Cordray, Director. So I want to say that I want to thank my colleagues for being responsive to this issue. I think that Councilmember Torres had mentioned that our law didn't go far enough, and that's what prompted me to write this letter. And I thank my colleagues for having the foresight to go forward in this
Great
regard.
job. All right.
Okay.
Let me go on to staff reports. Any staff reports today or tonight? No? All right, we're now at the adjourn in memory part of our meeting. We'd like to adjourn in memory of James Romulo Eisen, who is our city clerk's office employee Becky Eisen's brother-in-law. Also to Ralph Bravo, who is Community Service Center employee Andy Serrano's cousin, and also past president of the Daly City Post Lions Club. With that, can I get a motion?
Can I adjourn in memory
Go ahead.
too? I didn't get a chance to send this in because I just found out about it. I got married about 25 and a half years ago, and our maid of honor, her name is Frances Perez. She went to Westmore High School, grew up here in Daly City. Her husband, Randy, passed away on November 1st. He was 55 years old.
That's young.
I grew up with Randy.
Yeah,
Francis,
I know you did. I know you, yeah.
Francis is Santiago.
Yeah. And they were very good friends of our families. My wife, Francis, is her maid of honor. Her mom was my wife's godmother. And we were really sorry to hear that he passed away. I was very young, and he was, we had the services here in Dugan's just last Thursday, so I wanted to adjourn in memory of him and send our condolences to a really great individual, a great man, and he leaves behind his wife and three kids, I think it is, and two beautiful grandchildren, so our condolences out to them.
I also want to, I did not know that. I've known Randy since I was 5 years old. I knew his brothers, Dave Perez, and his older twin brothers, and I've known Francis since I was 10, and I'm devastated. I'm so sorry, and after today, I will reach out to Francis.
All right, can we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.